Tom Lee, the head of research at Fundstrat Global Advisors and a CNBC contributor, joins us this morning. It's good to have you, Tom. Happy Thanksgiving in advance and good morning. I take it that you write about some of the clearing occurrences we've experienced. In order to eliminate some uncertainty, it is obviously advisable to invest in Treasury and then Nvidia's earnings as well. Yes, and it's evident that the market was holding its breath on both since it started to levitate after Nvidia's announcement. Of course, we're also witnessing the market's reaction to the Treasury Secretary today. Both of these events are positive, but they also demonstrate that there has been a significant amount of money made off the sidelines, which is why we are rallying. Isn't that right? Yes, but I suppose it's producing a respectable yield. If rates are able to maintain these levels generally, what would be the motivation to abandon those sidelines? One thing we should have in mind, though, is that there is $7 trillion in cash on the sidelines. I believe that, generally speaking, portfolios are overweighted with risk-free assets, and I'm not sure if that will change to 5% in 2 years. Therefore, I believe that the argument for stocks is still extremely strong at the moment because investors are planning ahead and are seeing a resilient economy. How do you feel? Have you worked on your wages for the upcoming year or the one after? In fact, we are now working on it. On December 12th, we release our prognosis. Okay, then we'll check in with you again. In the meantime, which industries do you now prefer? The template that we believe makes sense, in my opinion, is to purchase stocks that profit from either a Trump White House or a dovish Fed. These include small-cap stocks, cyclicals like financials, regional banks, and industrials, as well as, of course, cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin, and some proxies like MicroStrategy and comparable stocks. Have you listened to what we just discussed? Can the Trump administration both maintain a dovish Fed and implement pro-growth policies? Since some of them oppose the Fed's ability to lower interest rates. Indeed, I would think that the market is currently somewhat pessimistic. Our clients are telling us that, but it also leaves opportunity for a pleasant surprise. One thing to keep in mind, in my opinion, is that the Fed may stay dovish even in the face of robust growth, provided that inflationary pressures and expectations hold firm, which has been the case thus far. But has it? Core inflation numbers are a little bit firmer right now, and I suppose it will rely on his actions about tariffs. Yes, but if you look at survey expectations, whether it's Yale's or the Fed's, we're seeing inflation forecasts that are at 5 or even 6-year lows. According to consumer perception, we'd have returned to pre-pandemic levels. The inflation forward curve on the 1-year expectations is then somewhat pushed downward if oil prices decline, as you are aware. Yes, expectations for the next 5 years have not performed as well. That's correct, and such surveys are infamously a little strange because, when you compare the actual data with the range of responses, you can see that some respondents choose to enter 10%, which tends to distort the actual medians. There is a school of thinking that contends that commodities do not portend a return to a double-top CPI or widespread inflation. Disinflationary discourses are increasingly being exported by Europe and, of course, China. Indeed, it is correct. And I believe that a lot of people believe that tariffs would lead inflation to increase. But as you are aware, it's unclear exactly what will be put into effect. And if duties are lowered, it will actually have a less inflationary effect. Over the weekend, The Times featured an article on page 1 about businesses vying for the president-elect's attention in order to present their case for exemption from tariffs. Yes, and Reuters reported this morning that the agricultural sector is once more seeking to be spared from deportation attempts. At the very least, how much policy risk do you anticipate being present in the upcoming year? Investors are worried about this, I believe, since we know that a campaign including tariffs and deportations was carried out, and as you are aware, those measures can have a significant negative impact on the economy. I believe that the market is beginning to price in the idea that having the proper cabinet picks can actually lead to the right combination of outcomes, so you've been impressed with the picks thus far. Yes, I believe that in addition to being impressed, the market clearly finds this appealing based on the response we receive from clients. Ray Wang, the founder, chairman, and chief analyst of Constellation Research, is here with us today to discuss it. How are you, Ray? Hello, happy morning. So, did you think the stock price drop made sense? Is this the only instance when Nvidia can surpass forecasts, but the biggest whisper figures on the street are nearly hard to surpass? The stock is just based on such high expectations. Each and every time. This sell-off isn't that significant. It is down less than 1%. You're completely correct, Becky. I believe that money was being taken from the table. The event was more than just a mic drop. The performance was a spike the ball in the end zone. But the issue was that everyone was asking, hey, what's going on? Shall we remove some cash off the table and return later? That's what I believe actually occurred. These were some significant figures after all. That's a massive 19.83% growth with $5 billion in projection. Indeed, it's difficult to identify many errors or shortcomings in the figures that were provided. It does bring to mind the previous quarter, when they exceeded forecasts once more. The stock fell right after the results, but it has since increased by almost 177% over the subsequent 3 months. Are you still able to purchase this? I believe you have a price goal of $180. Today, the stock is trading at $144. This is the reason I am. In comparison to the other Fortune 500 companies, the Mag 7 is essentially expanding at an exponential rate. Thus, 6 of the 7 Mag 7 stocks are essentially experiencing rapid growth, and Nvidia is selling to 6 of them. That's a big figure. These Mag 7 spend over $50 billion every quarter on data center expansion, which is essentially what drives the majority of Nvidia's data center business. That's a remarkable increase from $3.8 billion to $30.8 billion in just 2 years, isn't it? Gaming is quite different. The reason behind the $3 billion increase in gaming is that there is still a significant expansion of data centers that will take place over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. Following that, we will witness a shift, namely in the autonomous AI nations. Hey, our companies can't catch up, and we have to invest at a country level, they'll say. Yes, I've heard people criticize Nvidia because, at the moment, only these large corporations like Amazon and Meta are purchasing all the chips. But that's only because they're first in line. No one else is able to reach them. It is difficult to consider. When you consider what will happen next, you'll see that it will get much smaller and hotter, which is why this transition is so significant. As you are aware, these chips' power and consumption will ideally decrease, but people continue to stack more chips in one location, which is why data centers are so hot. The last trade is about to happen. Tim Seymour. The whole dovish idea is another factor in my affection for money center institutions, especially Citibank. Since Citibank has been operating efficiently for a few years, I believe that this is a major factor in money center banks' profitability, particularly Citibank's. Karen. Yes, I am examining the Nvidia collar, which I discussed earlier. I'll be playing some of the calls today and tomorrow because they're much more exciting than the clips. Did you momentarily forget your last trade? You inform us. Because I like Citibank, I was considering talking about them, but I decided to keep my mouth shut. I'll just speak. Calvacina Laura. Let's use the financials. Let's savor this moment while it lasts because it has been long overdue. Steve, it's great to have you at the desk. Brow, is Optimus really going to be in the studio? Really, a trader? Yes, eventually. I'm not expecting many jobs. Almuin, the RFK deal caused damage to this one. I'm still involved.